Our movie begins in Korea during the Japanese occupation. Our heroine, Shizuko, is riding in a car with her father's wife on the way to a boarding school. Her father's wife insisted on sending her there to receive treatment and, at the same time, to have some space to travel alone with her husband. When they arrive, the school principal warmly greets Shizuko and reassures her that she will get better. As soon as her father's wife leaves, Shizuko goes with the principal's assistant to collect her school uniform. The assistant empties all of Shizuko's belongings into a locker. Shizuko politely asks her to keep her diaries, but the assistant suddenly slaps her on the face with a pen and tells her to follow the rules. This makes Shizuko realize that hard days are ahead. Later, she goes to her bed and is surprised to see that the name, Shizuko, is already carved on the bed frame. This makes her realize that another girl with the same name had stayed there before. Suddenly, Kazuo arrives and reassures her that everything will get better, giving her a candy to stop her from crying. Then the principal introduces Shizuko to the other girls. When Shizuko sits down, Kira introduces herself and tells her about a competition among the students. The winner will get to continue her education in Tokyo. Before bedtime, the principal hands out medication to all the girls and watches to make sure everyone takes it. When the lights go out and the girls go to bed, Kira calls Shizuko to follow her to the bully, Yuka. Yuka throws stones at her and asks if her illness is contagious. Nervous, Shizuko starts coughing and falls to the ground with blood coming from her mouth. Kazuo rushes in to protect her and orders the girls back to their beds. But afterward, Kazuo seems upset and clearly hiding a big secret. The next day, the principal calls Shizuko to check on her and gives her a special drink, saying it will boost her energy. After she finishes it, Kira comes and explains why the girls treated her that way. She tells her that a girl with the same name used to live there and was very close to both Kazuo and Yuka. One day, she suddenly disappeared, and the principal claimed she was sent home because there was no hope for her recovery. None of the girls believed that story. When Shizuko returns to her bed, Kazuo takes her to a secret place and gives her back the diaries that the assistant had taken. But Shizuko notices her name already written in the notebook, realizing it belonged to the previous Shizuko. They talk together, and for the first time, Shizuko opens up. She tells Kazuo that her mother died when she was young, and her father and stepmother left her at the school and traveled to Japan, afraid of catching her illness. The next day, Shizuko watches the long jump challenge, which determines who qualifies to go to Japan. Yuka and Kazuo hold the top scores. When it's Shizuko's turn, she can't even run. That night, she opens the diary but finds many pages torn out, so she can't write anything and goes to sleep. The next day during lunch, the principal announces extended physical training to help the girls heal faster. Afterward, Shizuko asks Kira about the old Shizuko. Suddenly, Kira's expression changes. She attacks Shizuko, trying to strangle her violently until Kazuo intervenes and pulls her away. Kira starts having strange convulsions, her body twisting unnaturally. Because of everything, Shizuko becomes weak and goes to take her medicine. After drinking it, she meets Kira again, who now acts normal and doesn't remember anything. Later, Shizuko sits with Kazuo and tells her she wants to go to Japan to see her father. She also says she's never seen the sea. Kazuo takes her through a secret exit to the beach. They have a great time there. For the first time, Shizuko coughs without bleeding. She's so happy that she runs toward Kazuo, and they both fall into the river. When they return, Shizuko takes her medicine and looks at it with joy, believing it helped her heal. She even jumps 3 meters during training, landing in third place after Kazuo and Yuka. Yuka looks at her with jealousy. Later, Yuka confronts Kazuo, asking how she could take the new Shizuko to the basement and share the same experiences she once shared with the old Shizuko. The new Shizuko hears this conversation from a distance. When she goes to her locker, she finds a dead bird in her clothes, clearly put there by Yuka. She becomes furious and places the dead bird in Yuka's food bowl. After the meal, Shizuko takes the diary Kazuo gave her. Suddenly, she sees a necklace on the floor. When she bends down to pick it up, a girl's hand reaches from under the bed and snatches it. Shizuko gets closer and finds their classmate, a Jody, under the bed looking terrifying. Shizuko runs out of the room. The next day, all the girls are running toward a Jody's bed because she's gone missing. Shizuko checks under the bed where she last saw her but only finds traces of blood. Scared, Shizuko doesn't tell anyone. The principal holds a meeting and tells the girls that a Jody's mother came and took her. Kazuo feels upset, remembering what happened to the old Shizuko. She goes to her secret spot and finds Yuka, who says it's strange a Jody left without her favorite handkerchief, hinting that her disappearance is just like the old Shizuko's. Back in the dorm, the girls are emptying a Jody's bed. Shizuko tells Kazuo what she saw, but Kazuo says she was probably dreaming. Kazuo then remembers her past with the old Shizuko. Kira, overhearing this, later approaches Shizuko and tells her she believes she really saw a Jody under the stairs. Shizuko returns there and finds a Jody in a very bad state. Suddenly, Kira begins choking herself and collapses. Shizuko tries to help but fails, so she calls for the assistant. But when they return, there's no one there. Shizuko tells her that a Jody was under the stairs, but when they check, all they find is a water stain and no blood. She realizes the scene has been cleaned up. Shizuko confronts the principal, who tells her that Yuka left in the morning and accuses her of hallucinating because of the medicine. She says she'll give her a new prescription. When Shizuko goes to take her dose, she can't swallow it, and it falls and shatters. She starts feeling extremely sick, walking on broken glass without pain, and vomits repeatedly. The next day, Shizuko sits with Kazuo and asks why, despite being so good at sports, she never said she wanted to go to Japan. Kazuo doesn't answer, so Shizuko runs off and jumps, surprisingly, with incredible strength and distance. Kazuo becomes alarmed because it's exactly what happened with the old Shizuko. She warns her not to tell anyone. When they hear the principal and the Japanese officer coming, they hide in the bathroom. There, Shizuko tells Kazuo that she feels like she's changing and begs for help, reminding Kazuo of the old Shizuko and her plea for help. She runs and leaves her alone, so Shizuko goes to the principal and asks her to stop the medicine. She tells her that she has stopped coughing and feels better. But for the first time, the principal shows her real face and kicks her out of the office. During class, the principal comes in and announces that Shizuko is the first candidate to travel to Japan. As soon as the principal leaves, Kazu takes a deep breath, walks out of the room, and feels upset because Shizuko is leaving her too. Then Yuka runs to Shizuko and starts hitting her head against the locker because she feels that Shizuko took her dream from her and wants to destroy her. Suddenly, Shizuko gains strength and breaks the glass in her rage. After that, she approaches Yuka, strangles her, and lifts her off the ground until she passes out. Kazu quickly returns to Shizuko and sees glass in her hands. Shizuko keeps saying she no longer feels any pain. Kazu remembers that the same thing happened to the old Shizuko before she disappeared, so she starts questioning who this Shizuko really is. Later, the principal takes Shizuko to a room with a strange device and assures her that it's something that will make her stronger. Then Shizuko goes to check on Yuka and later decides to read Kazu's diary. Strangely, she finds a whole page filled only with her name repeated many times. On the next page, there is a photo of the box in the basement. When Shizuko goes there, she finds old pictures of the former Shizuko. At the same time, Kazu dreams of the last day she saw the old Shizuko, after she got injured and had glass in her hands. When Kazu wakes up, she runs to the basement and sees Shizuko there. She tries to move the box and tells her that after the old Shizuko got injured, she said she didn't feel any pain and felt fire inside her. Then she had strange seizures. Kazu got scared of her, even though the old Shizuko tried to reach out. Out of fear, Kazu pushed the box on her and trapped her inside, then ran off to find help. But when they returned, they found a big hole in the wall and the old Shizuko was gone. After telling all this to Shizuko, she admits she feels guilty and regrets believing the school's administration and forgetting what happened. They decide to figure out what's really going on, so they go to the principal's office and search for clues. But the principal enters with the Japanese officer, and they have to hide. While hiding, they hear the principal talking to the officer about a scientific experiment being conducted on the students. The officer gets angry because 2 girls had to be eliminated due to a mistake in the experiment and demands results quickly. After they leave the room, the 2 girls manage to open the safe and find a file stating that the principal has been testing drugs on students, trying to create a result where the drug prevents death and gives superhuman strength. The file explains that the girls whose bodies couldn't handle the drug died, while the ones who survived are being trained to become soldiers in the Japanese army. Shizuko becomes very nervous and accidentally plays a recorded tape. Through it, they learn that all the girls in the first phase died, and the one who handled the drug best and moved to phase 2 was Shizuko. Before they can recover from this shock, they hear the girls screaming. When they rush to see what's happening, they find Yuka standing on top of a tree, ready to end her life. She doesn't seem to be in her right mind, and then she jumps in front of all the girls. Kazu and Shizuko decide to escape. When the principal finds out, she becomes furious and slaps her assistant. The assistant reassures her that the officer is likely chasing them. The principal only cares about Shizuko, the only one who succeeded in the experiment. Meanwhile, the girls are excited as they start smelling food in the forest. They think they're close to the village and will find help. But shockingly, they find themselves facing Japanese soldiers. Suddenly, the officer appears behind them and attacks, but the girls fight back and manage to escape. As they run, the officer pulls out a gun and shoots Shizuko to slow her down. But the drug in her body will heal her again. Before Kazu escapes, she approaches Shizuko, knowing she will come back. The second shock is that Yuka is still alive, and she reignites the principal's hope because if she doesn't get Shizuko back, everything would be for nothing. The principal's joy increases when the officer returns with Shizuko. She takes her to the lab and gives her another dose of the drug to make her better again. At that moment, the assistant enters and informs her that Yuka has died, confirming to the principal that Shizuko is the chosen one. Kazu manages to return to the school. She enters the principal's office and takes her gun. While the principal goes to the rest of the town to continue the experiment, Kazu sneaks in and frees Shizuko. But then, she hears a noise, gets scared, and hides in a room with large tubes. Before she can see what's inside, the officer appears and hits her on the head. He returns to the principal and informs her that the project will be taken away from her and says directly that they no longer need her services. She responds confidently, saying the project was hers from the beginning. But he tells her the discussion is over. Soon after, reinforcements arrive at the school, and we learn that the assistant is actually the officer's spy. She enters, gets close to the principal, and slaps her. The principal breaks down and begs the officer not to take her invention, but he ignores her. Meanwhile, Kazu is inside one of the tubes, and water pours heavily over her. She keeps calling for Shizuko to wake up and save her, but Shizuko can't hear because the tube blocks sound. Kazu thanks Shizuko in her heart and remembers their good memories together as the water starts to cover her completely. Shizuko opens her eyes just in time, tries to get out of bed even though her body is still numb from the treatment, and enters the room with the tubes. She sees the old Shizuko and the missing girls frozen like a museum exhibit. When she sees Kazu, she's shocked and breaks down crying in front of the tube. Elsewhere, the principal tries to shoot the officer, but the bullets miss. Soldiers arrive, and the officer orders them to finish her, but Shizuko shows up full of rage, breaks the door down, and throws it at them. But she can't bring herself to finish off the principal or the officer. The officer orders his men to kill Shizuko, but the principal screams at them, saying she's the only successful version. The officer insists on eliminating her to ensure he has all the files to recreate her. What he doesn't expect is that neither he nor his soldiers can reach her. As they approach, she wipes them all out. Then she grabs the officer by the neck and finishes him. At the same time, the assistant is with the girls in the room. Only a few are left sitting on the floor. As soon as they see her, they attack and tear her apart with their hands. Meanwhile, the principal calls the Japanese government to rescue Shizuko from the officer, not out of concern for her, but to protect her invention. Shizuko arrives, grabs her, and throws her away. Then she gets closer and asks why she did that to her friends. The principal coldly replies, "Aren't they beautiful like this? I preserved them." That makes Shizuko furious. She slams her into the wall and goes to the tube where Kazu is, but the principal shoots her in the back. The bullet passes through her and hits Kazu's tube, breaking the glass. Kazu falls to the ground. Shizuko, now extremely angry, runs to the principal, lifts her, and impales her on a metal rod in the wall, killing her. The next morning, we learn that only one girl woke up from the drug naturally. She looks around in shock at the assistant's body and the corpses of her friends. Meanwhile, we see Shizuko with Kazu resting on her lap. She tells her, "Now we can go home." After those words, she dies too. The final scene is a beautiful memory of Shizuko and Kazu listening to a song together. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Goodbye.